Hey, what's going on, folks? It's Larry of Packmaster Dog Training. I get tons of emails every week about a few different subjects in regards to dogs. Not exactly about dog training, but the four different subjects that I'll touch on right now and give my answers and my opinions really are what do I feed my dogs, about dog nutrition, about vaccines, about spaying and neutering, and about different ways I exercise my dogs. So doesn't really have anything to do with dog training, I guess, but just in dogs in general. So let's talk about nutrition first. What do I feed my dogs? What do I prefer? And again, anything here, guys, you got to make your own decision. I'm just going to tell you what I do, and it's my opinion. There's so much good research out there and free information. You have to make your own decisions, what suits your needs and your dog's needs the best, okay? So please, if you don't agree with whatever I say, that's okay. Again, this is my opinion. You ask what I do for my dogs, so here it is. As far as nutrition, I definitely prefer feeding raw. A raw diet, there's no doubt in my mind, is what's best for your dog. Now, I'm not one of these cult-like raw folks that will not feed dog food to my dogs. I do. I feed both. I feed a combination of raw and I feed high-quality kibble. I like Akana. My dogs seem to do very well on Akana. There are several really good quality kibbles out there. It doesn't mean that your dog's going to do well on them. I'll use Luca for example. Luca's one of those dogs that does best on both raw and kibble. I feed both. And yes, I feed both at the same time also, and it does not create problems. That's what he does best on. My other dogs always did fantastic on 100% raw. Now, some of you are going to be asking, like, what do you mean by raw? I mean, literally raw meat and bones. Raw chicken, bones and all, raw beef, raw fish. I don't really feed much fruits and vegetables. I don't believe a dog is really meant to eat that. I have in the past here and there, but sparingly and very little at a time, okay? And I will usually pulse it in a food processor first because the dogs aren't really meant to digest that very well, all right? So for you folks that are feeding dog food, kibble or canned food that you buy in your grocery store, you are basically giving your dogs the equivalent of McDonald's for every single meal. You're feeding pure garbage. And it's really important that you learn how to read the labels on these dog food companies, okay? All of these companies, the Purinas, the Science Diet, all these foods that you can buy in Walmart or your local grocery store, it's garbage. The foods that you buy in your vet's office, garbage. It's absolute garbage. So you have to educate yourself a little bit, all right? The one thing that I hate when I stop feeding raw, there's been times where I didn't feed raw, and it's amazing how quickly the cleanliness of my dog's teeth can go down the tubes. Look at your dog's mouth. If his teeth are black and have a ton of tartar and mold and just are all nasty, that's a real serious health risk, guys. And even if you're feeding the best quality kibble you can, your dog's your dog's teeth are going to go down the tubes. And usually by 3 or 4 years old, the teeth are just terrible, and that's awful. So even when I was feeding a majority of kibble, let's say, I would still make sure my dogs got either a couple of lay quarters every week to keep their teeth really nice and clean, because it's important that they have a clean mouth, guys. But the benefits of feeding a good raw diet totally outweigh feeding straight up kibble dog food. It really is. So I understand most people don't want to go that route, but it is beneficial. That's what I prefer, okay? Let's talk about vaccines. This is a really touchy subject for so many people. I give my dogs the regular vaccines their first year of life, starting as a puppy, and then that is it. I don't give vaccines after that anymore. Okay, a lot of these places, they want to pump your dogs with all these vaccines year after year after year. It's absolutely ridiculous. So again, after the first year, I don't vaccinate anymore. Now there's going to be people who say, well, it's the law to give rabies and you have to do this, and I can't board my dog, I can't groom my dog. I'm going to do everything I can not to give my dogs these vaccines. Plain and simple, okay? Because it's not necessary. When was the last time you had all your vaccines? Do you get your vaccines every year? Do you get your kids' vaccines every year? No, you got them when you were a baby, and that's it. They last a lifetime. You know, do you see people coming down with polio? Are you getting vaccinated for polio every year? No, not at all. Let me give you an example of what happened to me at a vet's office not that long ago when I was getting Buddy groomed, my golden doodle. And this is nothing against the people that work in these offices. They're doing what they're told to do, and many of them believe this is what you're supposed to do. I had an appointment for Buddy to get groomed. Buddy's 2 years old. I take him in there, and they tell me, well, he's due all of his shots. He's due, you know, pretty much everything under the sun. He's due his Bordatello. I said, absolutely not. So I'm not giving him any shots. I don't give my dog shots after the first year. You know this. They said, well, he needs it to be groomed. I said, well, here's the deal. I said, I like to get him groomed here, but if I need to go someplace else, I will. I'm not getting him his shots. And they really fought me on this. And I said, well, can you do it tighter? They said, yeah, I guess we can. Well, tighter, for those who don't know, is they check the blood to see if the vaccines are still effective in the dog's system. So they did that. They let me do that, charged me a lot of money for it, and then a couple weeks later I got the results back. Guess what? Oh, yeah, they were okay. They were still protected against everything. Well, yeah, when they gave me the results, I said, you're kidding me. Wow, I'm so surprised. Very sarcastically. Of course it's still good. Okay, they don't need these shots every year. It's bullshit. It's killing these dogs, man. Look at the cancer rate. Between the dog food and the vaccines, look at the cancer rate of our dogs today. It's absolutely sickening. So then they say, well, he has to have the Bordatello if he's going to stay here to get groomed. I said, I don't want to give him the Bordatello, or kennel cough, as many of you know it. They said, well, he has to if he's going to be here. I said, why? He said, we have to protect him against kennel cough. I said, well, here's the deal. I'm his owner, and I'm okay with him not being protected against kennel cough. So can I bypass that? I'll sign a waiver if you want me to. They said, well, we have to protect all the other dogs that are staying here. I said, okay. I said, did the other dogs have the kennel cough vaccination? They said, yeah, they all have to. I said, well, then they're protected, right? And she just stared at me with this blank stare and didn't know what to say. I said, do you see my point? You're telling me two different things here. Those dogs are safe if you're telling me the vaccine is good to go. So you're going to get resistance on this. There's no doubt about it. But there's more and more of these holistic vets and these vets that are really supportive of this. So you just have to find them, you know, track them down and see what you're comfortable with. Again, this is what I do. I don't give my dog shots. All right, I just don't. Spay and neutering. Holy shit, this is going to stir up some issues too. I'm going to get some nasty comments from all my rescue friends and stuff in here. I do not spay or neuter my dogs. I used to neuter all my dogs. And when my dog started dying from bone cancer at 6 years old, I was really convinced something's wrong here and started learning. You know, I'm going to learn. I'm going to do research. I'm going to learn what's best for my dogs. I care about the health of my dogs. So now I have 3 male dogs in my home. None of them are neutered. They all have their balls, and they're big, beautiful, hairy balls. No, this doesn't cause aggression. No, this doesn't cause behavioral problems. No, they do not fight in the house because they have their big, hairy balls. That's a complete myth. As a matter of fact, is someone that I guess is known as dealing with a lot of aggression across the country. You know, I deal with a lot of aggressive dogs, a lot of behavior problems. All the dogs that come to me, guess what? They don't have their balls. They don't have their balls. All these aggression cases that I deal with, they do have one thing in common. They're all neutered. You are altering the health and the hormones and the growth of your dogs, especially when you do it at a young age, guys. That is a no-no. That is just awful to neuter a dog, spay a dog. And you know what? I'm not even going to say I don't know as much about the health of spaying a female because I've only had one female dog. But I could tell you about the male dogs, okay? Even with the female, you think about it, you're altering hormones, guys. It's not natural. It's not natural. So no, I don't. Does that mean no dog should be spayed or neutered? No, not at all. I don't agree with that at all. That's not what I'm saying. I understand why the humane societies and rescues spay and neuter their dogs. I totally get it. I don't agree with doing it, you know, to a 6-month-old dog. It's just, to me, it's a death sentence, you know. I think you should have people at least sign some kind of contract and hold them accountable in the court of law, if possible, that you wait till at least 1.5 years old to do so. So I don't spay and neuter my dogs. And no, it doesn't cause behavioral issues. It is healthier to keep your dogs intact. Again, do your research and learn about it yourself, okay? Exercise, different ways to exercise your dog. What I do, well, you have mental stimulation and you have physical stimulation, and in my opinion, all dogs need both. You know, it's just important to give mental stimulation as physical stimulation. Listen, physical stimulation is easy. You know, if you have a dog that will chase a ball, you go outside, you could throw a ball for a half hour and it does wonders. And in the midst of that, you can incorporate some training. My favorite way to exercise my dogs, especially Luca, who's in really great shape and has so much energy, I like biking with my dog. That's my favorite thing to do. You can cover a lot of distance in a really short amount of time, and they love it, you know, and he bikes off leash. I'm not saying everyone should bike off leash. You have to have a well-trained dog, but he is off leash, so it's very natural for him to run beside me or run behind me and just doesn't care what's around when we're doing that. He is in heaven. Now, I understand not everyone can trust their dog off leash, but again, it's real important to have a well-trained dog. If you can't, start off with your dog on leash and teach him to run beside your bike just like you would teach him to walk nicely at your side. But biking is my favorite exercise for my dogs. A lot of people use treadmills. I don't have a problem with that. I don't like it. I just don't like it for my dogs. It's anyone who's ever run on a treadmill, it's freaking boring. There's no mental stimulation, and then people say, well, they have to concentrate on staying on there. Yeah, well, I don't have a problem with it. There's nothing wrong with it. Of course, there's benefits of it. I just prefer to be outside and going to new places and putting the dog in a natural state of mind. Now, with that being said, I have a lot of buddies out there that are dog trainers and live in places like Canada and Maine and up north in different places where you can't be outside all the time, or you have people in Nevada and Arizona where it's so hot in the summer. Treadmills should be used. Yeah, they're very, very beneficial. All right, very beneficial. But again, you're giving your dog good activity, and plus you got to teach him how to run, so there's benefits to it too. I just prefer to do it outside, but I live in an area where you can do it all year long, so that's a big plus. All right, and I'm sure. Oh, for mental stimulation, I'll give you an example. Bruno, my old Roddy, that dog would chase a ball till he would pass out, literally, and he'd run through a brick wall to chase a ball. Unfortunately, when he got older, he couldn't chase a ball. If I threw a ball one time, he'd come up limping. He'd be limping all night long. So what I did with Bruno is I would show him the tennis ball, and I would start hiding it out in the brush, and I would tell him to find it, and he absolutely loved it. Not only did he love it, but I realized that by him having his nose to the ground and searching so hard, it was actually wearing him out more than it was chasing the ball. It just provided so much mental stimulation for him, and he loved it. You know, it was a great escape for him. So that's one thing that I really like to do when I don't want to run my dogs real hard. You know, you teach them to find things, whether it's a ball, whether it's food, you know, whether it's an object, nothing. But teach them to find it games, and it starts off real simple, and you can start making it more and more advanced, and the dogs thrive on it. It's a great thing. So there's just a few of the things that I do with my dogs when it comes to nutrition and vaccines and exercise and spay and neutering. Again, that's my opinion, guys. You don't have to agree with it, but you asked me what I think, and that's what I think. So I hope that covered some of the questions I've received over the past several weeks, all right? Have a great weekend, everyone. Peace.